All right, let's get going. It's time for the morning announcements. Morning announcements. Oh, I gotta turn that side on. Ugh, you just can't see the fish very well with that light on there. Morning announcements on the Nightcap with Nightcat YouTube channel. This is the morning live stream where we get you ready for the day. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. If you are an observer, I hope you enjoyed your Easter. We gotta talk real quick before we get into anything, because we've got a great show coming up. I'm gonna get you caught up with the Morning Mews. A lot happened this weekend, including rapper DMX going to the hospital in critical condition. And then we're gonna talk about how many times the Hollywood sign has been vandalized in the last year. But before we get into any of that, I'm gonna take you back to the fish real quick. I want you to notice this new guy. See what I mean with the light being on? So that is a brand new fish. I was looking for a fish. The thing is, the little one that we have in there, the calico looking one, they're called a Shabukin goldfish. She was really sad when her boyfriend died. Her boyfriend was a Blackmore goldfish. He was around at the start of the show, but he passed away, and she has been really sad ever since. So I've been looking to get her a new boyfriend. Well, I was at Rusty's Reefs in Bountiful, which is a great fish. I love that place. It's a great fish store. And I saw that big guy back there. And I walked up to him. I go, is that just like a regular goldfish? They're like, yeah, this is just a regular goldfish. This is how big they get. I'm like, oh my God, seriously? I've never seen a goldfish get that big before. So I was like, okay, he's so handsome, but I don't know if I should take in a new fish on a whim like this. Of course I should. It's me. So I was like, okay, how much is he? And they were like, I'll let you have him for $1. I feel bad for him in that tank, with that little tank with all those other fish. So I was like, yeah. And I brought him home and I named him Cosmo. So now the fish back there are Cosmo and Wanda. Wanda is so happy just to have a boyfriend again. She follows him around everywhere and she was picking on him this morning. It was very cute. So they're super happy. That being said though, and you can go see this on Instagram at Nightcat Show. Saturday night, so I got him Saturday afternoon. I was about to go to bed Saturday at midnight, and I walk into the kitchen, and he is just laying at the bottom of the tank, and he had not moved. And I figured he was trying to just get acclimated, but he just looked really sick, and I was like, if I go to sleep right now, this fish is gonna die. So I spent 2 hours doing water changes and getting this fish going again. Changing filters, scrubbing things, getting rid of ornaments, just anything that I could do to make the water quality better so that my new fish didn't die. 2 hours playing fish doctor on Saturday night until 2 in the morning. You can go check that out, again, at Nightcat Show. But I love Cosmo. He's great. Now that he's like feeling good and getting acclimated and the water's fine, apparently. Apparently it wasn't good enough for him when he first showed up, but apparently it's fine now. So he's eating and he's swimming and he's having a good time chasing Wanda around. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, but whoo, that was a long night. All right, I think it's time now to get ourselves into the Morning Mews. The Morning Mews is the part of the show where I go through the pop culture headlines. I get you all caught up so you don't feel left behind at the water cooler gossip, at the school gossip. I don't know if kids gossip about showbiz on the playground anymore, but I did. So I'm going to make sure that you're ready. Let's get started with the Hollywood sign. The Hollywood sign, iconic LA landmark, an iconic staple. It has been vandalized twice this year. I want to show you though, this vandalizing was so good because over the weekend, 3 people were arrested for putting a cow in the middle of the O. Let me just make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. Yeah, so they put a big old cow picture right through the center of the O, and police helicopters caught them doing it and were able to follow them down the hill until police could find them and track them, so they all got arrested, which, honestly, I get it. I get it, because, like, people could get hurt doing these things, and people could damage the sign, which is, you know, obviously a staple to LA tourism and sightseeing, so I understand why, but also, what innocent vandalization? I mean, look at this. It's a cow. It's basically a Chick-fil-A billboard, and they're so upset about it. I mean, I hope they don't really actually give those people too much trouble. Just maybe like a fine or something. Just a cheap little fine. Apparently there's a band called Junior Varsity who is claiming responsibility for this. They have a new album coming out, and the album has a picture of a cow on the front, and they've been posting cryptic messages on their social media for the last couple of days, all about, watch for the signs, watch for the signs. Okay. All right. Now I care a lot less now that I know it's about publicity. When it was just random teens having a good time putting up a cow, I'm like, okay, leave them alone. But now that it's like a bunch of adults trying to promote their album, I'm like, stop it. Pay for Instagram ads like the rest of us. How dare you? Now, here's the thing. Like I said, this is the second time the Hollywood sign has been vandalized this year. I didn't know this one. I must have missed this story. But back in February, a woman was arrested for changing the Hollywood sign to say, Holly Boob. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Holly Boob. She was also arrested, but I couldn't really find anything that happened to her after. I think that's great. I think they should have just kept it Holly Boob. I say we just change the name to Holly Boob. I think that's really, really good. All right, moving on. April the Giraffe. You might know her. She was world famous. She was like the world's most famous giraffe in 2017. She was giving birth to her baby, and the zoo where she was living started streaming it. And over the course of a couple of months, they got so many live streams, 232 live streams, that it became the second most watched channel on YouTube at the time. It was everywhere. Everyone was waiting for April to just have that baby. I remember like walking into offices of my like supervisors at work, and they were all just sitting there like, oh, you know, I just don't know when she's going to drop this giraffe. And I was like, is that what you called me in here for? To talk about the giraffe again? Well, very sad news. April passed away over the weekend. Now, giraffes apparently typically will make it upwards of like 25, maybe 30 years, but that's rare. It's usually around 25. So April was 20, and so she did live a pretty long life. The problem is that she had arthritis. And at her last vet visit, the vet looked at her and was just like, it's only getting worse. We can't keep her in this condition. It's not humane. She's in so much pain. So they made the decision to humanely euthanize her. 232 million people watched her give birth. So she died a legend. Bless her beautiful soul. I feel really bad for her, but she brought so much people so many happiness. Because I don't know if you remember, but that was just on the heels of the 2016 election. And boy, did we need anything to talk about other than the election, because everyone was hating on everyone. All right, a couple of updates. Last week we talked about Last week we talked about how there's been a string of celebrity break-ins and attacks on celebrity homes and stuff, including Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello. Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello were at home when 3 burglars broke into their house and then took off with Shawn's G-Wagon SUV. Well, police were able to locate the SUV over the weekend. They found it in a residential neighborhood, and it was being very well maintained. Like, they were talking about how, you know, when you get your vehicle stolen, you don't expect it to stay in decent condition, because whoever stole it is either going to trash it or sell it for parts or whatever they might be doing, you know, damaging it so that it doesn't look obvious that it, you know, very nice, expensive pop star's SUV in the middle of some random neighborhood. But no, they didn't do any of that to it. It looked great. And so they were able to get it, but they still have not made any arrests, and they're not so sure who took it. So who knows? I'm wondering if maybe whoever parked it there, their neighbor in the area has a Ring camera. And that's the problem, isn't it? You can't get away with a crime anymore. There are cameras literally everywhere. So I'm sure they're looking into some footage and they're trying to track down who did it. I will keep you posted on that, but his G-Wagon is back home. And then the man who tried to swim naked in Kendall Jenner's pool, he broke into her house, banged on the window, started screaming, "Kendall, Kendall," at 2 a.m. last Sunday. He ended up getting arrested. Well, remember, he only stayed in jail for 6 hours, and then Kendall Jenner was awarded a temporary restraining order against him. Well, it didn't matter, because he broke back into that house Well, onto the property. I don't think he actually got into the house at any point. But he broke back onto the property on Tuesday, the day after she got her her restraining order. So he was arrested again on Friday because they didn't keep him in jail the first time. He was let out in 6 hours, and he went right back to Kendall's house. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. This guy's clearly unhinged. I don't know that you can keep him in jail for ever, but also, like, somebody's got to keep an eye on him. Now, they kind of were. LAPD was expecting him to go back and break his stalking injunction, so they were able to arrest him pretty quickly. He was arrested on, I believe it was felony stalking. So it's a pretty big deal. Kendall, by the way, is not living there anymore. We talked about that last week. She moved. She's like, I'm not dealing with that anymore. No, thank you. And finally, over the weekend, rapper DMX suffered an overdose, which led to a heart attack. Now, this is crazy. He was at home, and they called the paramedics. The paramedics got there, and they spent 30 minutes on the scene trying to revive him at the house. And finally, his family was like, just take him to the hospital. What are you doing? Now, what they're saying is that in that 30 minutes, while he was unconscious and they couldn't revive him there on the scene, he was deprived of oxygen to his brain, and that's why he is on life support with very little brain activity. Doctors are saying that his prognosis is not very good, and it sounds like the family is really putting a lot of the blame on the paramedics who didn't get into the hospital as soon as, they could. But we'll see how that all pans out. He, like I said, was placed on life support, and his doctors are saying it's not looking too good. He had rally after rally after rally go down at the... I'm sorry. Freddie! Get! Oh my God. When I'm not paying attention to him, he smashes his face into the tripods of the lights and the camera until I pay attention to him. It drives me up a wall. And all morning he's been doing it, and I'm trying to ignore him because, I'm in the middle of a show! Kids. Working from home with kids. I know it. Oh, man. Parents hate when you say that, but I know exactly what you're going through. And that is the Morning Mews. Let's take a second to talk about our Patreon. I want to thank our patrons one more time. Patrons, thank you. I just got your check for the month. I'm very excited about it. That's very good news. Patreon, if you don't know, is an awesome service where you can help keep this show on the air, keep it independent, and keep it rocking and rolling. It's really fun, and I can only do it with your support. I have 2 tiers. I got a $3 tier and a $5 tier. You can sign up at patreon.com/nightcatshow. It's just a monthly debit. I also am posting, every now and then you're going to get a special video that's not on the YouTube. Every now and then, or every week rather, you get the Curiosity Killed Nightcat podcast a week before anybody else. So don't worry about it, honey. If you're just a true crime junkie and you can't wait for episode 2, it's already on Patreon right now. Patreon.com/nightcatshow. And speaking of the Curiosity Killed the Cat podcast, or Killed Nightcat podcast, that is currently available. Episode 1 dropped Friday. Thank you for all the very kind words. I got a ton of messages. I know how excited everyone was that we were doing the true crime podcast again, but I didn't realize how excited everyone was. So I got so many emails and messages and texts and everything. Thank you so much for listening to it and for saying all those nice things. I really appreciate it. I am going to ask, though, if you would like to go listen to Curiosity Killed Nightcat. It is on the Nightcat Radio podcast. So go check that out. But when you get there, would you mind leaving me a 5-star review? Just 5 stars, a couple of sentences about what you like on the show. I haven't had a review. I've had a couple of ratings, which is just where you give a star rating without a couple sentences review. I've had a few ratings, but I haven't had a review in over a month. And that can start to be a disaster because iTunes might not think it's very popular and might not show it to other people when they're looking for podcasts. So please do me a huge favor and go rate, review, and subscribe to the Nightcat Radio podcast. You can find it on your favorite podcast directory or down in the link tree in the description of this video. Okay. We nailed it. Oh, fun. It is time for the book of random knowledge. I'm sorry, this is the book of unusual knowledge. The other one is the book of random information. This is just a bathroom reader book. Just got a bunch of fun facts and articles and stories about what's happened in history. Just interesting stuff that you might want to know. And we've been reading through a couple of these different books. This one I thought was really fun. There are so many Hollywood urban legends, like Hollyboob hidden legends. And I thought maybe we could go through one of them, which is the 3 Men and a Baby and a Ghost. So, remember the movie 3 Men and a Baby? Tom Selleck, Ted Danson, I don't remember who else. But it was back in the 80s, 1987. I loved that movie when I was a kid. I thought it was very funny. But there's a scene in the movie where Ted Danson's character Jack and his mother are walking through Jack's house while the mother is holding the baby. As they walk in front of a window, the ghostly image of a boy is standing in the background. So when the characters walk by the window a second time, the boy had been replaced with a gun. So they see a ghostly apparition, and they walk back by, and you see a gun back there. Now, the legend has it that wherever they were filming, whatever house they were filming in, that boy died in a gun accident somehow, and now his ghost haunts the house and showed up in the 3 Men and a Baby movie. Well, not quite. So apparently there was this deleted storyline from the movie where Ted Danson's character was in some sort of commercial, and part of that was that he had a cardboard cutout of himself in like the beer commercial. So what you actually see is the Ted Danson cutout that they made, but they removed from the movie. It's a dog food commercial, by the way. There's no way that could have been like a haunted house where a tragedy happened, because it turns out that actually wasn't a house at all. It was all film sets up in Canada. So it couldn't have been that urban legend. As much as I love a good urban legend, sounds like this one is El Falso. So keep that in mind next time you hear anything like that. We might actually do a few of these urban legends, like where's Disney's head buried? Is it actually frozen? Who was the Gerber baby? All sorts of stuff like that. This book is super fun. The Book of Unusual Knowledge. Oh, let's check in on the caterpillars. Let's see here. These are our caterpillars. And I don't need a close-up camera anymore because you can just straight up see them. They're enormous. This cup, I'm pretty sure we're going to have cocoons very soon. I already see them like hanging out on top of the lid. And that's typically what the sort of behavior that they have when they are about to go into cocoons. They'll go to the top of the lid. They'll drop down into like a J shape. And then they make their little cocoons that way. So I think we're going to get cocoons out of these guys easily next week, anytime. Now, our second cup, our trouble cup, they are doing better. You can see that guy right there under my finger on the base of the lid. He's kind of hard to see. But we have 3 in here that survived. So 2 of them did end up dying. And those 3 have finally started growing. They're not anywhere caught up to their siblings in this cup. But these guys are starting to come along. I don't know that we'll have cocoons out of them this week, but we'll see. I actually think that we should do some sort of like betting pool or Instagram poll or something like, when do you think you're going to see these cocoons? Oh, they're so cute. I love them. Anyway, if you missed it, we're raising caterpillars together on this show. And then when I have butterflies, we're going to go out to the park and we can all get together and we'll release butterflies and have a good time. How does that sound? It sounds pretty good, right? So that's what's going on with the caterpillars right now. I did put them in front of the goldfish, and I rearranged my desk a little bit. I don't know if you noticed, but I put those caterpillars in front of the goldfish, and Cosmo was all over it. He wanted those things so bad. I thought he was going to try to break the glass eating them like a shark. So I'm going to have to find a more decent place to put the poor caterpillars because I think they might just drive Cosmo crazy. And that is the caterpillar update. All right. Oh, wow. Is that really it? How? We just got here. We did through Caterpillar Camera, Book of Unusual Knowledge, Patreon. We did the Morning Mews. I introduced you to Cosmo, who I'll turn it back over to with 3 minutes of fish here in a second. But before we do that, thank you so much for streaming. I want to get over here and take a look at our chat. Who's in here? Good morning, Katie. I hope you had a fantastic Easter. I saw on Instagram the girls got those like Baby Yoda giant plushies. They're so cute. Erica, good morning. Dark Prince Zizor, Marissa, Dark Prince Zizor. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, but there's new fish music. So when you listen to The Waiting Room, I changed it. And when you get to 3 minutes of fish, I changed the song as well. So I want you to just be able to vibe a little bit. I figure you probably got sick of the same song. I was getting sick of the same song, so we switched them. Brienne, good morning. Katie, Cat. Lindy Lou, good morning, Lindy. How are you, dear? Nathan, Emmanuel, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to see you here. Sadie snuck in there. Good morning, Sadie. How are you, dear? I love the caterpillar emoji. Thank you for that. Anytime you want to join the show, hop into that live chat or text me at 601-557-CAT1. Now, you can also leave me a voicemail. I love getting voicemails, so make sure you do that as well. Check out the merch store. nightcatmerch.com is the place to go for all of your fun little Nightcat hoodies and shirts and mugs and socks and underwear, excuse me. And there's also the Nightcat Toy Shack on nightcatmerch.com, where you can go through and find some of the coolest toys that I was able to track down through these awesome overseas suppliers. Really fun stuff over there, nightcatmerch.com. Don't forget to check out the Patreon and every episode of Morning Meowncements, as well as Nightcap with Nightcat, the weekly night show on Wednesday nights, gets posted to Nightcat Radio, the Nightcat Radio podcast. You can go find it later, listen to it. If you miss any of this show, you can go back and watch it later on YouTube or listen to the podcast. Also on the podcast, Curiosity Killed Nightcat Episode 1 dropped Friday. That's the paranormal true crime episodes. You can get that there. All right. I think that is my time. I'm going to turn it over to the fish. Bye-bye. Bye.